Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Proline, the longest-running sports handicapping show in America. I'm John Cranton, joined by Jeff Saad. He runs Las Vegas Sports Services. Going to take a look at the 2015 NFL offseason, some of the changes that took place, some of the teams to watch for the fall. Before we do that, let's take a very quick look back at the wild Super Bowl between the Patriots and Seattle. I mean, right now, there is a chance we could be talking about Seattle working on its unprecedented third consecutive Super Bowl title. They had that game, second and goal at the 1, but fate just intervened along with some questionable coaching. So, Jeff, I want to ask you, when you look back at that, I mean, do you cut Seattle any slack for making that call at the time?
Well, I can cut them some slack for passing, but not for the call that they made. I mean, if you're going to pass for some reason in that situation, at least call a play that makes sense. At least do a play action. Do something where Russell Wilson would have a chance to find a receiver, throw it away, or run it himself, instead of throwing a pass where there's no room for error into a crowd of people. I mean, you couldn't ask for a worse call in that situation. So, if you want to pass, the reason I would say it's the worst call in the history of pro football is because you have three things here. We have the fact that he didn't run. 2, he called a terrible pass play in that situation. And 3, the Super Bowl was on the line. So when you put all three things put together, I think it's the worst call of all time.
Yeah, my take on it at the time was Pete Carroll made the comment after the game, look, it was second and goal at the 1. We only had one timeout with about 1:05 left. Therefore, one of those 3 plays has to be a pass play. You can't run the ball 3 straight times. And now his reasoning on that is correct. There are times where if you're going to run the ball on that second down play, you're not going to run it with 50 seconds or a minute to go. You want to walk it down to about 30 or 25 seconds left because you don't want to score too quickly, which is exactly what they did. However, if you don't make it and you only have one timeout, you're stuck. My problem with that, though, is the timeout situation for Seattle. When they started that drive, basically in their own 20, they had all 3 of their timeouts. So the Seattle coaching staff was smart enough to save their timeouts for that final drive, and that's very good coaching. On the other hand, how did they burn 2 timeouts on that drive? One of them was near midfield. Russell Wilson threw an incomplete pass. He walked over to the sideline to get the next play, got the guys back in the huddle, still couldn't get the play off, so he was forced to burn a timeout. The second timeout was after that crazy play at the 5-yard line where the guy, caught the ball and it was first and goal at the 5. Okay, I'll grant him some slack. Maybe you have to call a timeout there because it was such a crazy play. Nobody knew whether he caught it, whether he was in bounds, whether he dropped it, and guys, were confused. But, a better coached team, a more disciplined team, could have run up and ran the ball to Marshawn Lynch and had all 3 of their timeouts. At the very least, you should have 2 timeouts. And if you've got 2 timeouts, you don't have to pass the ball when it's second and goal at the 1. So I have to blame a lot of it on the coaching staff. The call was terrible, and not having those 3 timeouts, or at least 2, really put them in a bind, and I blame that on the coaching staff. Okay, let's move ahead to some of the off-season changes for the NFL as we look forward to the 2015 season. Boy, the Seahawks, talent-wise, they're rated by one publication as having the most talent in the NFL, so they're certain to have elite talent and be a force to get back to the Super Bowl for the 3rd straight time. Broncos, well, they still have a Hall of Fame quarterback at age 39, great wide receivers in a kind of a watered-down AFC. The Indianapolis Colts, Vegas looks at them as the next great team. Perhaps they're the team to beat in the AFC. The Ravens certainly looking dangerous too, as are the Packers, who've got to be kicking themselves after having that 19-7 NFC Championship game lead slip away with 4 minutes left. Also, we have 6. A year ago, we had 6 brand new NFL head coaches. This year is 7. Boy, these guys lose their jobs really quickly. We got Jack Del Rio in Oakland. John Fox moves from Denver to Chicago. Kubiak is running the show for the Broncos now. Todd Bowles is running the New York Jets. Rex Ryan moves to Buffalo. Dan Quinn takes over in Atlanta from Seattle, where he was defensive coordinator. And then Jim Tomsula has taken over the 49ers. So let's take a look at some NFL teams that may be in a surprise situation as far as spread marks or stepping up as potential challengers in the AFC or the NFC. Jeff, who do you see having a decent offseason?
I'm looking at the Atlanta Falcons here. Last year, 6-10, 7-9 against the spread. They were 6-10 to the under. They have a new coach here, Dan Quinn, the former defensive coordinator for the Seahawks. Kyle Shanahan's the new offensive coordinator. And so we'll probably have an improved running game plus more zone blocking from the offensive line. That's the way Shanahan coaches. The Lions are going to need all the help they can get because they've had, it's been the big problem the last couple of years. They've had a lot of injuries and not a lot of depth. They did acquire Mike Person from the Rams, Jared Smith from Seahawks, and Chris Chester from the Redskins to help out there. Matt Ryan's had 28 touchdowns of 14 interceptions last year, and he's been sacked 75 times the last 2 years. Hopefully an improved running game and a more balanced offense will improve all of that. Tevin Coleman, third-round pick from Indiana, rushed for more than 2,000 yards and with 15 touchdowns last year. Also, Devontae Freeman and Antoine Smith are expected to pick up the slack after Steven Jackson left. So the offense looks okay, but the defense is going to be the big question mark here. And we have a defense coordinator, Richard Smith. Also, they brought in Raheem Morris, who's like the assistant head coach. He's going to help out on defense, but they have a huge job ahead of them. The Falcons were last in pass defense last year. There is some hope, though. They drafted Vic Beasley, who can play end or linebacker. He's out of Clemson, and I also drafted Jalen Collins, cornerback out of LSU, in the second round. Last year, opponents converted 49% on third down, so it's going to be a big rebuilding job on the defense, plus the offensive line is still a question mark. As far as the schedule, they open at home on Monday night versus the Eagles, then they have to play at the Giants, at the Cowboys, and home versus the Texans. So I'm looking at a 1-3 start here, maybe even worse. So I think it's going to take at least another year for this team to get back to 500. Although one thing they have going for them is that easy division they're in, so anything can happen there. So the Falcons may, I'd go for a 7-9 season this year, John.
All right, one of the prop bets in Vegas is, will the Falcons make the playoffs? Looking at plus 240 on the yes, if you think they're going to, so there's some value there. I'm going to take a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers because this is a team that they've been rebuilding the defense the last couple of years, and the offense is just sensational, one of the best in the NFL. One of the comments that Ben Roethlisberger made this offseason was this is the best offense that he's ever worked with, and he's been a plus 10-year veteran. And that wasn't just a guy blowing smoke, because this offense last year was sensational. They won 11 games. They were 7th in the NFL in points scored, over 27 per game. They were 2nd in the NFL with passing, over 311 yards per game. Roethlisberger had one of his best seasons ever, 32 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, over 4,900 yards passing. And get this, his sack total went down from 42 to 33. With the offensive coordinator changes the last couple of years, what they wanted to do was to have Big Ben get rid of the ball faster. They hated the fact that he would hold on to it forever because he's so big he can take these hits by linebackers, and he was, Mr. Scrambler. Well, they wanted to get him away from that so he would avoid fewer hits, and it certainly worked as the sack total dropped 9 from last season. And then the targets that he has to work with. Antonio Brown had almost 1,700 yards receiving. Tight end Heath Miller is still here. He's always valuable. 761 yards last year. And then the running back they drafted out of Michigan State, Le'Veon Bell. This kid is terrific. Over 1,300 yards rushing, 4.7 yards per carry, and he caught 83 passes for 854 yards. That was second on the Steelers. So this is a balanced, potent offense that is going to be outstanding, particularly early in the season in September. I like what the Steelers have done on defense. Is very young linebacker core. Ryan Shazier, he's going to team up with Lawrence Timmons. It's a terrific linebacking core. Stephen Tuitt is the defensive end, as a young guy who they like. And then they bring in a rookie linebacker, Bud Dupree, who was taken with the 22nd overall pick. They still have Cameron Haywood up front. Secondary is where the weak spot is on the defense. They lost a couple of key guys, so it's a very young secondary, but the draft brought in a whole bunch of guys. So that is the one weak spot with this team. But overall, I think the Steelers are loaded and should win this division again. And as far as betting numbers, the opening game of the season is a Thursday, NFL Week 1. The Steelers are playing at the Patriots. Don't understand why the Patriots have been getting the money and they're a slight favorite. They went from 6 down to pick 'em when the Brady suspension came in. Right now it's anywhere from 1.5 to 2. But I think the Steelers are the play in this game because the Patriots secondary has taken a step back. This is one of the best passing offenses in the NFL. The Steelers have, I think they're going to carve up the Pats and score about 30 points. And on the other side of the ball is Jimmy Garoppolo. Is he going to be good for 30 points? We just don't know. We don't know anything about this kid other than that he's very raw and has very little experience. So if you like to play teasers, which I wouldn't recommend more than 2 teams for the NFL. And also the rule in Vegas with teasers is don't do it for colleges. You want to do it for NFL only because there's more value. And I wouldn't do more than 2. But the Steelers as a teaser plus +8 for that first game. And then if you like any games you want a few points with on Sunday, not a bad way to start the season. All right, we're going to take a look at some more NFL teams. But first, if you want to get free picks every day sent right to your cell phone from Jim Feist, you just text winner to 313131. And we're going to check in with Jim Feist right now. He's kept up on some of these off-season moves as well. Jim, what's happening?
Now, granted, when you talk about draft choices and number 1, number 6, or 7th round or all that, we don't really know how these guys are going to play out in the NFL. Most of the guys that come into the NFL, especially these top draft choices at quarterback, like Johnny Manziel, they bust out. They're not that good at this level. But we don't know that until they turn the clock on and give them the ball and put them out on the field in regular season games. We'll find out. But there are a lot of movements with free agents, and that makes a big difference. So what I've been doing is I look at the roster changes, who added what, the coaching changes, which is very big because they not only change head coaches, they change offensive and defensive coaches as well. So, and those guys usually come from other teams, so that creates a void. So I look at those voids as well as where they're going and how they're going to change the custom and the culture of the new team as well. There are some games on week 1 that I have already made some strong moves on, and I want you to get those plays, and I want you to get them now. They're going to be up and available today at jimfeist.com. Now, there's also a free play line right here on the screen. Make sure you call that each and every day. We do have free plays that we give out. But if you want those big plays up and available right now at jimfeist.com, make sure you go to the site now.
All right, thanks, Jim. I want to remind everyone, if you're watching this video on YouTube, you can go to Jim Feist's YouTube homepage. It's called Sports Betting, and you can subscribe to it just by clicking on that link above, and it's free, and you get updates on new videos. Also, if you want to go to the website, jimfeist.com, there are college football previews and NFL previews and articles available now. Let's take a look at some other teams in the offseason. You know, the Seattle Seahawks, despite what happened in the Super Bowl, you have to wonder, is this going to be a dynasty or a hangover? I'll lean toward the fact that they're a potential dynasty because they've got so much talent coming back. A recent publication, I believe it was ESPN, had a ranking of the teams that had the most elite NFL talent. Seattle's still number 1. They almost won the Super Bowl last year with a defense that was really banged up with injuries, and you got to believe they're going to come back healthy. And of course, bringing back Marshawn Lynch was key. They had some trouble with him after the Super Bowl as far as, hinting at retirement. But they're loaded. I think this team is going to be a powerhouse again and probably in the NFC title game. The one thing to keep in mind about Seattle, if you think they might have a hangover, are the first 2 games. They're on the road for both of them. First one's a division game at the Rams. And then they go to Green Bay for the revenge game. Interesting in Vegas that game opened to pick 'em for week 2. And now, during the summer, people have been all over Green Bay. It's up to -2, so Seattle's not getting any money for that Week 2 game. All right, Jeff, any other teams that you see in the NFC that might give Seattle a run?
Well, the Packers, as you mentioned, they get that Seattle. We know people are wondering how the Seahawks are going to react after blowing the Super Bowl. We have to see how the Packers react after blowing the game against Seattle. They could have gone to the Super Bowl. So last year, but the Packers have everybody back pretty much. They lose A.J. Hawk on defense, pretty much as the same team as last year. They outscored opponents by 138 points last year. Only teams did better than that were the Patriots and Seahawks. Their offense were 6 in yards, number 1 in points, 8th in passing, 11th in rushing. Aaron Rodgers threw for nearly 4,400 yards, 38 TDs, only 5 picks. Eddie Lacy over more than 1,100 yards. Jordy Nelson, wide receiver, 1,500 yards. Randall Cobb, 1,200 yards. So all those guys are back, and it should be another. If they stay healthy, the Packers should be right there again, where they were last year. Defense was 15th in yards, 13th in points, and they were 10th in defending the pass. They do lose A.J. Hawk, linebacker, went to Cincinnati, but pretty much the defense is still intact. Linebacker Clay Matthews is going to move to inside linebacker. Or he did last year, and now he's going to do the same this year and help the run. So the Packers have that Seattle game in Game 2. They got blown out in the first game last year. Then they blew the game in the playoffs. They remember that game in Seattle with the replacement referee. So This is a huge revenge game for Packers in that week, so that might be the motivation to take the Packers against the Seahawks.
Yeah, Vegas has Green Bay at 10 wins for the season, and now it's 10 minus 180 if you like the over. So people are betting, the public and the sharps are betting Green Bay over at 10 wins. They certainly look like the team to beat in that division, and probably in the NFC title game again. I'm going to take a look at the New York Jets as far as wagering value, because 2 years ago they overachieved. They were 8-8 straight up, and they were 9-5-1 against the spread, the second to last year that Rex Ryan was there. But their overall numbers were terrible that season. So last year, I thought the Jets would be a good go against. And boy, were they ever. 4-12 straight up, 6-9-1 against the spread, with the worst passing offense in the NFL. However, I'm actually going to go in the other direction for 2015. I think the Jets are going to offer some bounce-back value this season for a couple of reasons. First of all, Todd Bowles takes over as head coach. He was the defensive coordinator at Arizona. And this guy's night and day from Rex Ryan. He's calm and calculated, and his specialty is defense, and he inherits an absolutely sensational defense. For offensive help, he brings in the veteran Chan Gailey on a unit that was very good in rushing the football, third in the NFL, 142.5 yards per game. They do have their top running back returning. And then as for quarterback, that's the big weakness with them, with Geno Smith. He's had some terrible numbers, but they have a couple of newcomers. Ryan Fitzpatrick, a veteran who can provide some stability if necessary. And then there's the wild card in Bryce Petty out of Baylor. So any one of these three guys has a shot at it, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the two newcomers, because they can't be any worse than they were a year ago. The ground game is very good with Chris Ivory, 821 yards. And then the passing attack, which needs help, well, they're going to get it. They bring in rookie wide receiver Devin Smith. He's a speed burner. Early reports are that they're going to use him as a kick returner, but I got to believe they're going to put him in at wideout at some point. Eric Decker is still here. Tight end Jace Amaro is young and still very good. Plus, they bring in Brandon Marshall from the Bears. Certainly a head case, but a talent at wide receiver, which they need. So there's potential to be significantly better than they were a year ago. The ground game's going to be fine. And this defense is absolutely loaded. They were 5th against the run last year, 14th against the pass. Look at the talent they have on the defensive line. Sheldon Richardson at 8 sacks. He's back. 25-year-old Muhammad Wilkinson, 5.5 sacks. And they're going to be joined up front by a rookie defensive end, Leonard Williams. He was the number 6 overall pick from USC. Linebacker David Harris is still here. He's 31 years old and has 6 sacks. And the secondary adds Darrell Revis. So what was already a great defense looks absolutely loaded. The offense isn't going to have to score a lot of points. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Jets as a team to continue a betting trend in Vegas. 13-9 run under the total. I think they're going to be in a lot of games with this defense, and when you see the Jets as a dog, I would certainly take a look at it. All right, Jeff, any other teams out there?
Well, I have to talk about the Detroit Lions, of course. Last year,
your
11-5.
favorite team?
Well, yeah, but unfortunately, the defense is going to be it's going to take a step down this year because Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley are both gone, as is C.J. Mosley. So last year, 11-5, 7-9 against the spread. They were 5-11 to the under last year because the offense played a little more conservatively than was expected. Matt Stafford cut down on his mistakes. Last year, only 12 interceptions compared to 19 the year before. But as I said, they played a more conservative offense, and when they played good teams on the road, they didn't do much. They scored a combined 22 points in road losses at Carolina, Arizona, and New England. And of course, Stafford still hasn't beaten a winning team on the road yet in his career. So it's going to be probably the same old story here for the Lions. They might get to 10 wins or so, but 50-50 chance of making the playoffs. The offensive line was a disappointment last year. They allowed 45 sacks, and as usual, the running game was pretty much awful. They haven't had a good running game since Barry Sanders left pretty much about 15 years ago. Reggie Bush wasn't much help because he was injured a lot. They did draft Amir Abdullah from Nebraska, who is a good prospect, so hopefully that would be something good to happen in the running game for a change, but it's just been a tradition there. That, remember the infamous Matt Millen passed up Steven Jackson and Adrian Peterson, among others. So that's just been the way it is there. They just have not had a good running game for a long time. And this year they have a very, very tough early schedule. They're at San Diego, at Minnesota, and then they home versus Denver, at Seattle on Monday Night Football, and then back home against Arizona. So if they go 2-3 in the first 5 games, I think it's going to be they'll probably be satisfied with that. Or the fans might be satisfied with that. They're never satisfied with the Lions, but I mean, that's a very, very tough early schedule. So if they can pull out a 2-3 there, they might be okay for the rest of the season. But I'll look at the Lions go 9-7 or 10-6 again, John.
Well, they certainly overachieved last year. Vegas has them at 8.5, and if you like the over, it's plus 110. So if you think they're going to be the second best team in that division, there is some value with them. They overachieved last year. Let's see if they can do it again. I'm going to take a look at the AFC. The Indianapolis Colts, they're kind of Vegas's baby here to be the best team in the AFC. We know the Patriots have taken a step back, but the Colts, with Andrew Luck, a young up-and-coming team, and the schedule certainly breaks their way. One thing about the Colts, you've had 3 consecutive 11-5 seasons, so they certainly are for real and here to stay, and they've been covering betting numbers. 22-12-2 spread run are amazing when you have that kind of high-profile offense that the public likes. They've been winning and covering numbers. So you get Andrew Luck returning at age 25. All he did last year was 40 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, 4,761 yards passing. And look at his sack total, too. It's dropped the last 3 years, 41 to 32 to 27. This offense was 6th in the NFL in scoring 28.6 points per game. And the offense gets better. They bring in Frank Gore at age 32. And over 1,100 yards with the 49ers, kind of a question mark with his injury history, but let's face it, the Colts have had nobody being able to run the football of late, so he can only help. And then this passing game, my goodness, are they just absolutely incredible. T.Y. Hilton, 1,345 yards. Tight end Coby Fleener, I'm really not that big on Fleener, but he's got productive numbers. And then they bring in Andre Johnson, the veteran from Houston, and the rookie wide receiver Philip Dorsett comes from Miami, a first-round draft pick. So this passing offense should once again be number 1 in the NFL. Defense I have some concern with. You know, they rank 12th against the pass. They do have talented cornerback Vontae Davis back. He's a bit of a difference maker. But their problem has been the run defense. And overall, their defensive numbers are better, I think, than they really were because they played in that division that is just awful offensively. And when they stepped up to play good defensive teams last year, didn't do very well. They gave up 31 points to Denver, 30 to the Eagles, 28 to Houston, 51 to Pittsburgh, 42 to Dallas, and they played the Patriots twice last year. Lost both, gave up 42 and 45 points. So it's an offense that's going to be unstoppable if you like to play games over the total. I think the Colts at home indoors, they're going to score as many points as they want, and the defense is suspect. And a couple of games to keep in mind, the Colts' schedule really easy this year, so I can see them winning 11 to 13 games. The only 2 tough games on the schedule, they both get them at home. The Patriots in October 18th and then Denver November 8th. Colts are favored in those games. The Patriots, they're favored by 3 over the Patriots and by 1 over Denver. And keep in mind that game against the Patriots is the one that Tom Brady is going to be returning from. So that'll be a marquee TV event. All right, Jeff, how about in the NFC, the St. Louis Rams? We keep saying that they're acquiring talent and they're going to get better. When are they going to turn the corner, if ever?
Well, they better do this year because this is Jeff Fisher's 4th year and he still hasn't finished 500. So this could be the year. They were 6-10 last year, 7-9 against the spread. Won 8 overs, 8 unders. The defense is solid, but it's the offense that needs an overhaul here. A lot of that can be blamed on injury plays Sam Bradford, but he's gone. They traded for Nick Foles from the Eagles, so and they have a new offensive coordinator now, Frank Sinetti, and they drafted Todd Gurley, who's running back from Georgia, who's hopefully will be recovered from knee surgery. If not, Trey Mason's back. He averaged 4.3 yards per carry and had 765 yards last year. All the receivers returned, led by Kenny Britt there, who had 748 receiving yards last season. Offensive line's a huge question mark, though. It's very inexperienced. That's going to be could be the bugaboo here for the Rams this season. Defense came out strong in the second half last season. Remember, they had those back-to-back games where they beat the Raiders and Redskins by a combined score of 76-0. Just about everyone is back on defense, and they also picked up Nick Fairley from the Lions. Defensive tackle Aaron Donald was the defensive rookie of the year. They're solid in the secondary, so this could be the year the Rams get to that 8-win mark. I'm not sure it's going to be enough to make the playoffs or not, but they really need to pick it up this year because they can't go on the way they have been. And also it could be the last year in St. Louis. There's all these rumors about them moving to L.A. The schedule, they open at home versus Seattle. So we're going to find out right away how they stack up here. So, but that first game, what's the line in that first game? The Seahawks and the Rams?
I believe it's Seahawks are 3.5.
Yeah, I would still go with the Seahawks in that first game because it's going to take a while for I think the offensive gel here. So, but the Rams I think can make it to an 8-8 season, John.
What do you think of that week 2 number there? Seattle 2-point dog at Green Bay. Any value?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I guess I'd go with the Packers, but I don't know if they have anything mentally. They have to get over this hump of it. Can they beat the Seahawks, especially after what happened last season? So, right at this point, I'll wait on that one, John.
Yeah, when I first looked at that, I said Green Bay in a blowout. And the more I think about it, that Seattle defense, you're going to be healthy in week 2 most likely,
Yeah.
and that is one hell of a defense, historically good defense. All right, I'm going to take a look at the Buffalo Bills, but it's not really for spread numbers as far as wins and losses. It'll be for totals players, because the Bills, they're projected at 8.5 wins. You got Rex Ryan taking over, staying in the AFC East, and he really inherits a fantastic situation. And the Bills' offense is a concern here. 18th in the NFL in passing. They were 25th in rushing, and this Rex Ryan hasn't been able to do anything with quarterbacks in his history. E.J. Manuel is here. Haven't seen much out of him. 5 touchdowns and 3 picks last year, but they did make a good move bringing in Matt Castle. He's 33 years old. He's certainly an upgrade over the problems that they had last year. They add running back LaShawn McCoy. He adds speed to the offense. I was not a fan of that trade because he's more of a finesse runner, and Rex Ryan likes those physical guys who pound the line, so I'm not sure that's going to work out. And then you got a very young wide receiver core. But the biggest factor that I like this team as far as playing under the total, Mike, Rex Ryan is a great defensive mind, and he inherits an absolutely sensational defense. Look at the Bills the last 2 years. They had 54 sacks last year and then 57 sacks 2 years ago. Marcel Darius is back with 10 sacks. Mario Williams with 14.5 sacks. Linebacker Jerry Hughes had 9.5 sacks. The secondary looks solid with Stephen Gilmore and Aaron and Duke Williams. Leotis McKelvin had some offseason ankle surgery, but he's available. So is it any surprise, if you like to play totals, that Buffalo is on a 12-4 run under the total with this great defense? Well, guess what? With Rex Ryan in town and a suspect defense, I think the same thing's going to happen this year. I can see them going 11-5 or 10-6 under the total, so there's going to be some really good opportunities. And my first one will be week 2. They're going to be hosting the Patriots. You know Rex Ryan's going to get up for that game against Belichick, but he doesn't have to face Brady. It'll be this great Buffalo defense against Jimmy Garoppolo. Do you think Rex Ryan's going to unleash the blitz at all there in week 2?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be maybe a 9-3.
Should be very interesting.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one, and I don't think it'll be many TDs at all. Okay, let's tell you about some of the ads if you want to get on board with a special for preseason. If you want to get on board Jeff's Las Vegas Sports Services, it's real easy to do, Jeff. 4 weeks at a special rate.
Yeah, you get the entire preseason for only $19, all the 5-star winners. And preseason is really a time to make some money. A lot of handicappers really look forward to preseason because the more information you have, the more chance you have of winning. And that's what we do here. We have all the information. So you want to get the entire preseason NFL, the entire month of August, essentially, for only $19. Just call the number of your screen, call LVSS, get the entire preseason, just $19.
All right, if you want to jump on Jim Feist Early Bird Preseason Special, you get 4 weeks, the entire NFL preseason. That's going to include Jim's preseason game of the year, all 4 weeks for $29. Just call the number on your screen. Sign up before August. All right, that'll do it. Make sure you go to jimfeist.com. We got previews of college and pro football there, videos, and we will see you next week with another edition of the NFL version of Proline. Good luck with the games, everybody.